Hello and welcome to Beach View, our podcast about different things and stuff.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going, I think. I'm tired.
Same. Always tired.
Well, speaking about podcasts, our topic today is just that.
Podcast! Yes, so I thought this would be an interesting topic because obviously we're doing a podcast, but I was interested to see what other podcasts that you listen to.
Well, let's start with this one. I have to listen to it to edit it.
Obviously. Yes, and I realized that I didn't listen to the last one after it was finished. You sent it to me.
Yeah.
And I never listened to it. So I have to catch up on our own podcast.
You were there though.
I know. I know, and I still like to listen to them. Because I'll forget what we talk about, like, right after. I'm like, wait, what do we go
definitely.
over? So, yeah. And if it's like, when we have our guest on there, I like to, send the link to the guest and tell them to go listen to themselves. So I have to do that with the last one.
Yeah, so that's
So what other ones do you get into?
So there's this podcast network. I say network, but it's really like the banner that the same two people do. Well, I guess there's a third person, but it's called Range Touch, and they do podcasts on so they're both academics. They have PhDs, and they do podcasts from sort of an analytical perspective. They have two where they play through different video games and sort of do a let's play style where they recount what they did in the game and then sort of analyze things that are going on in the story or with the gameplay and stuff like that. They have one where they are reading through the books of Stephen King in publication order.
Oh.
Although that one's not, super interesting to me because I just don't care about Stephen King.
Oh.
I prefer the video game one.
I got you. And I bet they'll never run out of Stephen King books either because there's so many of them.
Eventually. It'll take a few years, but...
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, and then they have one on a webcomic called Homestuck, which initially I wasn't interested in because I wasn't interested in the webcomic, but I finally decided to, give it a listen and go through all the episodes. And it's actually pretty good. It's using, that webcomic as, not just to talk about that webcomic, but as a lens to talk about sort of, internet culture at the time and how it's progressed and, media culture in general.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. So yeah, I like, most of the stuff they do, I'd say.
Is that one also more analytical, or is it more...
Yeah, that one's... Yeah, well, like I said, they use the webcomic as a lens to talk through, internet culture and media culture and stuff like that.
That's kind of cool.
Brought up Foucault in one episode, so...
Wait, what does that mean?
Foucault, he's a philosopher.
Oh, you're teaching me things.
Michel Foucault, you never heard of him?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know about that one.
French guy, 20th century.
How do you spell it?
Foucalt. Let me look up to make sure that's right.
No, I don't think I've heard of that one. That one of him.
Okay, there's another U in there after the A.
Okay. No, I don't think so. I'm not familiar.
Oh, well, yeah, he's he was a famous French philosopher, 20th century.
Well, I need to brush up on my philosophy because I do not remember that. So, that's good. So, you find those interesting? When do you listen to podcasts?
Just, I guess, when they come out, I don't know.
I mean, is there, a certain, I tend to listen to podcasts when I'm getting ready for work in the morning. So I'll just like have it on my phone, just, like doing my hair, doing my makeup, whatever, putting contacts in, that kind of stuff. And so that's like really the only time that I listen to podcasts. So do you have like a time like that, or you just whenever you feel like it?
Yeah, well, I like to try to make time and sort of sit and listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
And I usually have a game on my phone that I'm playing just to have something to, do other than sitting.
Right, exactly. Do you ever feel like, is this just me? When I'm listening to a podcast, if I'm not doing something, it makes me really sleepy.
No, I don't think I've ever had that, but I'm always, doing something.
Yeah. I think, I've always been that way. If I'm listening to somebody speak, for a while, in a classroom or in a video or, podcast, whatever, just listening to somebody talk just, slowly puts me to sleep. So, in class, I used to do crossword puzzles from the student newspaper, just to stay awake in class. I don't know why, but nobody else seemed to have that problem. But podcasts do the same thing to me. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot, Range Touch also has a monthly podcast where they cover books, academic books in game studies.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And I like that one. That one's neat.
Do they cover, topics from the books that help you with gaming, or?
No. Game studies is, the study of games, and play, and, they're particularly focused on video games, but not entirely.
Okay.
But.
Yeah. Huh.
And they just,
cool.
take a book, and then read through it and sort of give an overview of it.
I got you. Okay. Do you ever, read those books that they talk about, or no?
No, that's what the podcast is for. It's shorter than reading.
Because, I'll listen... No, I'll listen to something and be like, oh, that's interesting. Let me go get that book, But that's just me. I mean, maybe because I'm a big reader. You're not as much of a reader, I guess.
There's some that, I, listened to the podcast episode and I was like, I should probably pick this book up, and then just didn't.
Just didn't. Yeah, I do the same thing, though, too. So, yeah. But I find listening to podcasts, for me, I like it much better than watching video. You could be saying the same thing on a video, and I would much rather just listen to the podcast. Are you the same, or no?
It doesn't, I don't, particularly mind either way.
I gotcha. I don't know why. I don't like watching videos. I'm the only person ever, because everybody's, I don't mind short videos, reels on Instagram or something, but, if it's a long discussion, I don't want to watch it. I just want to listen.
You like music videos, though.
I do. You're right. I forgot about that. I do like music videos. But maybe because it's music and not just straight talking,
Yeah, we're kind of the reverse on that one.
We are. We definitely are. Oh, it's funny. So, any other podcasts that you like?
Well, do you have any before I, say?
I do. Yeah, I do. So, I go in phases. So I'll listen to a bunch of podcasts, and then I'll go for 3 months without listening to any, except for hours, of course. But I started listening to This Is Paris podcast. I might have talked about this before, but
yes, you have.
So it's Paris Hilton and Hunter March, and I like it because they bring in guests, and it's always interesting. Some of them I don't know anything about, and I don't really care, to listen to it, but it's always just different, totally different guests. So one day it was Richard Branson, another day is Sweetie, the musician, and it's such a range that's why I kind of like listening to it. So there's not a ton of, it's not really a focused podcast, kind of like ours, where we talk about anything and everything, which I like about that. I don't, sometimes I get bored with listening to the same topic all the time, but that one is always interesting. Another one I listen to, that I only listened to a couple so far, but you're going to laugh at this, but it's, do you remember, well, I think I asked you this before too. Do you remember that show, The OC? like from the 2000s.
Yeah,
early
we
2000s.
talked about the OC before.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a podcast that Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clark started, and those are two of the co-stars. I think I talked about this too. And it's called Welcome to the OC Bitches is the name of the podcast. And it's just they have like the writers on there, and they talk about behind the scenes stuff, and like different co-stars will come on. So I guess I've listened to more than just a couple, actually, now that I think about it. But I just I like that kind of behind the scenes stuff, and like what they were thinking when they were doing it. And also they talk about like the early 2000s and like just like the times and the trends and stuff. And I think it's kind of funny to like think back on like the Southern California vibe of the early 2000s. But there's not like, it's not totally like sometimes they'll go into the show and they'll talk about like each episode. And that's kind of like, I don't really, I watched the show. I don't really need a recap, but so some of it I just kind of fast forward through, but that's an interesting one. And then Travis, my husband, got me listening to this other one called Smartless. Did I talk about that one before too? I don't know if I did or not. I don't think
so.
Okay. Well, Smartless it's with three guys. It's Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. Do you know any of them?
They're all actors.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of films they've been in. I can't think any off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm familiar with those names.
Yeah, Jason Bateman, he's like comedian actor, I guess. He's like he was in Arrested Development. He's in like a ton of stuff. I can't really think. The Switch is a movie he was in. The Ozarks. He's in that show. Sean Hayes was in Will and Grace. Will Arnett was also in Arrested Development and a bunch of other stuff too. But anyway, it's really again, they have a guest each time, and it's them just kind of like talking to the guests. And so it's funny. They have all kinds of different people, whether it's actors, comedians, whatever, that come on the show. And I always like to listen to the comedian ones because I think they always like end up, being really funny. But anyway, that one's also another interesting one that I just started listening to recently. And I don't know about you, but like I don't listen to every podcast that gets put out like from a series. I just kind of skip around. But I feel like it's I don't know, like sometimes I get kind of bored with it where I'm just like, all right, let's get somebody interesting on here. Like I just don't want to, I don't want to listen to all of them, kind of waiting for a new one to come out. And then I forget about it for 3 months. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was listening to that. Let me go back and see what they have, which is kind of cool because then I have a lot of choices,
Yeah. For me, it depends on the podcast. I've had some where like I wanted to listen to all of, the thing, and I've had some where I just like skip around, pick just certain episodes that seem interesting.
Yeah. Another one, I was listening, and I don't remember the name of it. I was trying to look it up, but I listened to like a health and wellness one. That was just kind of about like, just like a, kind of holistic lifestyle one, but I get kind of bored with that. So, but there's not really, I want to get in like the book culture on podcasts. I haven't really like dug into that really, where I know there's like some podcasts out there that they go through like different books and like fiction and nonfiction. And since I am a big reader, like I wouldn't mind getting into that kind of thing, but I haven't found one yet.
Yeah, like a book club.
Yeah, like a book club, exactly, but podcasts, and I don't have to go like meet with people and
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Get book recommendations. So I thought of another podcast that I've listened to, and it's called Sibling Revelry, and it's with Kate and Oliver Hudson. And that one is, so they're brother and sister, obviously, and they always have guests on the show that are also siblings. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic, and they just kind of, again, talk about all sorts of stuff. But I like that they bring people on like who are siblings and they just kind of talk about like, like growing up in their family and just all kinds of different stuff like that. So I think that one's interesting.
Yeah. You seem to like guests in podcasts.
I do. I think I don't know, kind of just gives you like different perspectives. And I guess the podcasts that I listen to always have like a ton of guests. So I haven't really gotten into any like, I guess, real serious kind of, or, academic podcasts. And I think because when I'm listening to the podcast, like I said, it's usually when I'm getting ready for work. So I kind of just like the light, fluffy ones that I don't really have to concentrate on.
Yeah.
Because I'm always doing something else, like when I'm listening to it. So I think that's why I go for the, like the celebrity ones that are just kind of, I mean, not that they don't get into more serious topics, but it's not just a podcast of serious topics,
Yeah.
But, and I don't know if you would, I guess this isn't really counted as a podcast, but have you heard of the app Headspace?
Maybe.
It's kind of like a guided meditation app, but they have like sleep podcasts that are really just like soothing kind of, like, I guess they're not podcasts. They're really more like, now that I'm thinking about it, it's just like, just kind of like soothing noises and like ambient sounds, like to help you go to sleep. They do have podcasts included in the app, but what I'm talking about is really more of a, I guess, a sleep cast, you would call it. But sometimes I'll listen to those too when I'm having trouble going to sleep.
All right, so here's a question for you.
Okay.
Do you listen to your podcast at normal speed?
Yes, I usually do, yes.
See, I never do.
You speed it up?
Yes.
But have you tried slowing it down?
No, not really, no.
That would be like, I don't know, probably boring.
Yeah, I usually listen to them at 2 times speed.
That's a good idea, and I never ever do that. Like, if I listen to an audiobook, every once in a while I'll do that. Like, I'll put it up to like 2 times speed and get through it faster. But podcasts I never do. I should try it. Good idea.
Alright, well, another podcast I listen to is called A More Civilized Age, and it's about Star Wars.
Oh, interesting.
Which is specifically about animated Star Wars show called The Clone Wars.
Oh.
Which, like, I only listen to because I like the host from other things. But I watched the show because of it, and it was okay.
Really?
Yeah.
So you like the podcast better than the show?
Probably.
That's funny.
But yeah, it was like, because they announced, we're going to be doing this podcast. And it's like, oh, well, I like their commentary on video games. That's what I knew them for, as they did video game stuff. So it's like, well, I guess I'll check this out. So I did.
And you liked it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do they have, like, how do they talk about it? Like, is it, they talk about new episodes? Is it, like, just in general about Star Wars? Like, how do you keep a podcast going?
It's an overview of each episode. So the show finished airing, like, years ago.
Okay.
And so, it's a finished thing, and they're going through it, and they take, like, a few episodes of the show per podcast, and then talk about, like, give an overview of what happens in the episode, and then talk about different parts of it, stuff they liked, stuff they didn't, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So kind of like the Stephen King novel one, like, do you ever run out of stuff to talk about? Like, once you get through all of it,
yes, there
like,
is
and then they'll just start talking about something else, I guess.
Probably other Star Wars TV shows. There's a few of those.
There are more.
Yes, and they are making even more. That is like the new thing that they're doing with Star Wars.
What?
You haven't heard of any of them?
Star Wars is like the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, that's why Disney bought it from Lucasfilm for, I forget how much, but it was like a lot of money back when they did that.
Like $1 jillion.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact figures.
That's awesome.
But you've never heard of any of the shows?
What do they call? I mean, I've heard of the Clone Wars, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, the Mandalorians, the like most popular recent one. You heard of that?
I thought that was a movie.
No, that's a TV show.
Oh, okay, yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Never seen it, but I have heard about it.
No, me either, so.
Oh, well, you're missing out. You gotta go watch it.
I don't want to. The cartoon I watched has a lot of people from the creative team. Like, they share a lot of the Mandalorian and the Clone Wars share a lot of the same creative team. And I'm just not interested in the Mandalorians as a concept, so.
Oh, okay. I don't even know what that is.
It's a, like, group of people. They have a warrior culture. They wear the very specific armors and they float around in jetpacks.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
I'm just not interested in them.
Yeah, I'm not really either. I don't think I'm gonna watch that, but
no.
I'm glad people enjoy it. All right. So, are you ready for our next topic?
Yep.
Okay, so next topic is we're talking about the dystopian genre. So, this is, you can find it all over the place in all kinds of media, right?
Yep.
I know, like, your games sometimes, books, movies, shows, anything and everything. I'm sure there's dystopian podcasts that I don't know about. But basically, like, dystopias are, it's usually like a future kind of reality that has to do with some kind of, like, when some group controls society in some way. So whether it's like government control or religious control, like technological control, like there's always some kind of control element, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I read some, of course, for me it's always in books that I'm reading it, but also like and it's usually like when books become movies that, I'll watch that, and that's like where you see this like dystopian genre. So how do you feel about it? Do you like it? You don't like it? What do you think?
Not very interested. I don't really like dystopian as a genre.
Yeah. Well, like, what's your reasoning?
I couldn't tell you, honestly. Like, I like dystopian.
Just not interested.
Like, in high school, and I read 1984, that's one of the most famous dystopian novels. And like,
yes.
I was, a fan of it generally, and I guess I just got tired of it. I don't know. But just not really interested in it these days.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't like go to that genre, but usually when I read something that is a part of that, it's usually like something that someone recommended to me. They're like, "Oh, read this. This is a good series." And a lot of times they're series, and I like to read series. So, like I read, back when the Hunger Games became popular, and also Divergent, I thought was a good one, that series. And then more recently I read, and I may have talked about this too, The Scythe. That's a series. I only read one of the books, but they're all just kind of set far into the future, and this is kind of like a new reality that they're faced with, and it's always like, such a bummer of a reality, and it's like them navigating through it. I mean, I think I like to read those, not all the time, because it's much more, I guess, I wouldn't say it's a fantasy novel, but it's definitely more like a stretch of the imagination. Like, it's not something that you can, like, outwardly relate to, So every once in a while I like to mix them in, but didn't you okay, I thought that your game, Kentucky Route Zero, isn't that kind of a dystopian thing?
Not at all.
No, I thought, I only played like that one.
Well, it depends. Like, if you stretch the definition, I could see arguing that, but
I thought it was.
It's not future in any way, and, like, it's,
Okay.
like, there are some moments where there are, like, you know, oppressive forces on the, like, protagonist.
Okay.
Like, he gets ensnared into a bad contract, but...
I don't know why I was thinking it was, like, based in the future, and... I literally only played it once, guys, so, I mean, you know, I just kind of jumped to that conclusion there. But that's kind of funny. Okay, so you really don't have any dystopian elements that you like at all, huh?
I mean, I wouldn't refuse to watch or play something that was dystopian if I thought it was interesting for other reasons, or, like, you know, people were talking about it a lot and I thought it was really good. So I thought to check it out, but, like, generally, I'm, like, as a baseline, not interested.
Not interested. I think, what I think is kind of funny is that some of this dystopian fear, you can see, like, in present day, like, when people have these kind of conspiracy theories, and they're like, oh, if the world keeps going the way it is, in 10 years, it's going to be like this, and the government's going to control everything, and this, you know how you, like, hear people talk about, like, these kind of crazy ideas, and it's, like, all fear-based, I feel like, and they try to get people riled up about this, and I hate that. Like, I really don't like that. It's not based in any kind of, you know, factual, you know, reality, and it's just, like, kind of fear-mongering and just spreading these kind of baseless conspiracies. So that happens now, you know, like, we know that happens now, like, you see it online, it's ridiculous. I don't like that at all, but I think it's funny that the dystopian genre kind of does the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of takes, like, an idea that's probably you could see could happen in the future, you know what I mean? Based on stuff that's happening now, and it kind of just stretches it to the limit. What I think is funny, though, is that I hate when people do that now, but I don't mind it if they're taking the idea and running with it in the dystopian genre in, like, books and movies and stuff. So I think that's a little, like, how do you, you know, in your mind, how do you, like, I hate it now, I don't mind it in fiction kind of thing. I guess
yeah, it's fictional.
It's reality versus fiction.
Yeah, there's a barrier there that makes it more palatable, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess it makes you think, too. Like, the fictional part of it is kind of like, this is kind of crazy. Like, this, you know, but you know that it's fiction and it's not happening and it can't happen kind of thing. So, I don't know. I think people like to read those books, or, you know, see movies or play games just because it's not reality, but if you stretch what reality is now, it could be, you know? So, I don't know. It's one of those things that makes you think. It can be interesting, but the one I read recently, The Scythe, was kind of, you know, totally out there, you know, that could never really happen. And so I think that's what makes it, it's a nice little break from my normal reading, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing since you don't really like the genre, you don't have any real, like, examples.
Yeah, like I said, 1984, Fahrenheit 451, I also read that in high school.
Yes. I don't remember what that's about at all.
It's about the, books being banned, and there's, people who go to burn your house down if you read books.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's ringing a bell. Yep.
Yeah, I skimmed Brave New World in high school. I was supposed to write an essay on it, but I only, read bits and pieces because I procrastinated.
Sounds like something I would do.
Yeah, trying to think of, like, there's gotta be, like, some TV show or something I watched that was a dystopia, but...
I heard of, this was a feminist book that was, it's called We Set the Dark on Fire, but I haven't read it, but it sounded like it's supposed to be a good book, but I never did get into it. Have you heard of that one?
No, not at all.
Okay, I don't know, just curious. But there's like a ton of them now. Like, the YA book scene has, like, exploded with dystopian novels.
Yeah, there's been like that for a few years now, too.
Yeah, definitely. But and I think it's also interesting that it's mostly, well, that I know of, it's mostly YA. That I don't know why, but there's one called The Uglies that I also like saw. I think it was like on some Instagram post like to read, but it's basically like society is split into uglies and pretties, and everybody who's born an ugly, they have to have like a surgery when they reach a certain age and turn them into a pretty. And it's just, it's supposed to talk about like the emphasis that we put on superficial beauty kind of thing. But again, never read that one either. I don't know that I would like that, but
Sounds like that one Twilight Zone episode.
yeah. Oh, with the pig faces?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. So my friend was that for Halloween, and hardly anybody knew what she was, and I was like, I knew exactly what it was. Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to, cause like I know there's dystopian video games, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. Like maybe you knew some of those. Yeah, that you could.
Okay,
you could
hold on. I'm gonna open up my Steam library.
Okay.
Okay. So there's one game called "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream," which is based on the short story of the same name. I don't know if that counts as dystopian.
I mean, it sounds sounds like it.
Yeah, but it's about a like supercomputer. So the world made a supercomputer, and it for nuclear deterrence reasons, right? That was like a common sci-fi idea back in the day. Like, what if we made a supercomputer that would handle the nuclear stuff and like they usually do, it turned evil and it went to war with humanity and nuked everybody, and it keeps 6 humans alive to torture endlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the plot of the game, is you being the humans and trying to break free from the control of the computer.
Oh, I think that would classify as dystopian.
Yeah, there's one game that I started but never finished called Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Which is kind of dystopian.
And you never finished it, so I'm guessing you weren't really that into it, right?
It's older, so it's kind of like difficult to play.
Oh.
It's older and a PC game, so before it was common for games to come out on both computer and console.
Mm-hmm.
It was really common for like developers to look at the keyboard and be like, well, we have all these buttons, we might as well use them.
Oh. I would assume that would be really hard.
Yeah, there's just more buttons than you would use in a modern game, and it's kind of awkward as a result.
Yeah, I can see that. Since you mentioned like that game being based on a short story, we should find one that's like a game that's based on a book, and then like I'll read the book and you play the game, and then we can like compare and contrast.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I'm trying to think of... There's a game based on a Shakespeare play. There's The Witcher, which is a fantasy novel turned into a game.
See, lots of examples. We should definitely get into that.
Yeah, I'm just looking through more games in my list. Let's see. It's bad that I don't even, I look at some of these and I'm like, I don't recognize the name of this game, and I own it.
Well, that's what I do with books. I'm like, wait, I know I read that. Like when you said Fahrenheit 451, I remember reading it. Like I remember, doing a bunch of stuff with it in school, and then I'm going, I don't remember what that's about at all.
Yeah.
I knew it had something to do with burning, but I didn't know what.
So, another one, the Half-Life series, which is about this nuclear... not nuclear, some sort of physicist or something. They're doing some experiment, and it goes wrong, and they end up bringing aliens to Earth.
Oh.
And the aliens take over everything and establish, a dystopia where they're killing all the humans and subjugating them and whatnot.
Oh, what was that called?
Half-Life, it's a series.
Oh, okay.
It's still not finished, despite the first one coming out in, 1998.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
It probably won't ever be finished, so...
Yeah.
Like, it became famous for, like, really establishing a lot of genre tropes and breaking the mold in the genre of first-person shooters and how to, like, tell a first-person narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like, it demonstrated the engine that it was built on, so...
Oh.
It, like, at some point became, like, a larger than just the story itself sort of phenomenon, and, like, I guess the developers were like, if we're gonna make the next entry, it's gotta be something big, and, like, I guess they just never were happy with it, and eventually it just got shelved.
Oh, man, that sucks, though.
I don't know, I never liked that game, so...
Oh, maybe it doesn't suck.
It sucks for some people. People were really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It was a meme for a while that, like, you know, it was never coming out.
I gotcha. Which I guess is reality since it never came out.
Yep.
The Maze Runner is another one that is supposed to be similar to Hunger Games, and I think they made like a show out of it. I'm not positive, but I never read that. I feel like I have a lot of books to add to my reading list now, but like I said, I can't just read like a bunch of dystopian ones. I have to like kind of do them every once in a while. I mean, it could get kind of depressing, you know?
Yeah.
But I think once I do read them, I'm always like, oh, that was good. But anyway, well, I think that's all. Do you have anything else to add about dystopia?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of them in general. They just don't interest me usually. I guess that's about it.
Well, next time I'll pick a topic that is more interesting to both of us. How's that?
Well, the topic's interesting. I just don't like the genre.
Okay. Well, I'll try to think of something you do like next time. All right. Well, you ready for me to take us out?
Yep.
All right. This has been Beach View. Thank you for listening, and join us next time.
Bye.
Bye.